The month is officially over, and that means it's time for a wrap up. Hi, hello, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Alex, and today is the April 2025 wrap up. So everything I read in April plus the ratings. I did get some good reading done in April. Well, like, it was super weird because I felt like I started reading so early in April. Like sometimes at the end of the month, like I'll take like a week off and like the first week of the month and just sort of like finalize what I want to read, wait for things to come through at the library, whatever, And I feel like I started reading right away in April, and then I took a really long break between the first book and the last two, because the last two I put super close together and I just sort of crammed them in at the last minute. I don't know. April was busy. I'm always busy. I always say that. I'm always busy. But like, it seemed like I had less time to do the things I wanted to do, which was reading. I really just want to sit down and read all the time and not do anything else. And unfortunately, I have to like do all these adult things, and like it's super lame. Being an adult is like seriously so overhyped, really. Anyway, here we are. Let's go over my rating system, but before we do, make sure you hit all the buttons down below so you know what I'm posting. I post every week, and all we do on this channel is talk about books. If you like listening to people talk about books, here I am every week doing just that for you. Let's do the rating system real quick, and then we will get into what I read, what I thought, what I rated. 5 stars means best of the best. No notes. I absolutely love this book. I will recommend it to anybody and everybody. 4 stars means it was still really good. I really enjoyed it, but it had flaws, okay? And if this is a thriller that I'm reading, and there are any loose ends at the end of the thriller, it cannot get the 5 stars from me, okay? So that will make it a 4 star. So it could be anything that really doesn't make the book like perfect in my eyes. But yeah, if it's a thriller and there were loose ends, no 5 stars. 3 stars means I didn't like it, but it was a subjectivity issue, which means I just was not the right reader for the book. It could have been like the genre or maybe one of the characters I didn't like, but there was something about the book that I really didn't like, but I could see other people enjoying it. I would still recommend it to people, but it just wasn't for me. 2 stars means I did not like it and it had fundamental issues. It probably was not so bad that I won't ever read the author again, but it's like the author is definitely not going at the top of the reread list or anything like that. Yeah, it has to have fundamental flaws to get the 2. 1 star is the worst of the worst. I absolutely hated this book. I will never read the author again, and I will never recommend it to anybody. I truly only save 1 stars for books that blatantly like support or write in a narrative that suggests that grooming is okay, racism is okay, homophobia is okay, ableism is okay. Like, they have to be so blatant and so forward about it that these things are acceptable and okay to do for me to really give it the 1 star, okay? Also, cultural appropriation's in there too. If the author writes in a way that suggests cultural appropriation is an okay thing. Yeah, it has to be a really bad book, okay? I feel like there's only been maybe 1 or 2 books in my entire reading career that I have given 1 stars to. So not very often, and not today. So yeah, let's not waste any more time. Let's get into what I read in April. The first book I read in April was When We Were Magic by Sarah Gailey. Okay, the cover, y'all, is giving just like the best vibes. And I've read a lot of Sarah Gailey, and Sarah Gailey does not disappoint me. This book did not completely disappoint me, but it was not my favorite Sarah Gailey book, okay? So we are following a group of young women, but specifically one young woman, but she's got all these friends, and we're sort of following along with everyone's story, that are magic. So they have magical powers. And one night after prom, our main character has an incident and a boy ends up dead. And now it's up to our group of fine female magicals to try and correct this wrong, okay, in whatever way that they can. And what ensues after is just a complete mess that they now have to fight through, work through, figure out how to fix, etc. And along the way, we're getting a lot of really great stories and a lot of really great growth on the page. But we're all sort of building up to this pinnacle event at the end. I really don't want to tell you much more than that because it is kind of like a complex storyline, I would say. Not complex, but like I just don't want to give anything away. So representation in this book, amazing. Okay, not only are we getting lots of great rainbow rep in this book, we're getting lots of great BIPOC rep in this book. I think the BIPOC rep could have been done a little bit better, but it was there and I was happy to see it. The reason I didn't love this book as much as I've loved Sarah Gailey's other books is because if you've read this book, you know that it's sort of like we're putting a puzzle together, right? Like we're finding pieces and moving things and we're solving a problem, right? And the majority of the book, and when I say the majority, I mean the majority. I would say like 93% of this book is spent doing that. And then everything kind of wraps up in this much time. Literally the final chapter, which is like maybe 5 or 6 pages, everything's wrapped up. And it's like, I felt like the pacing was not that great because we spent so much time doing this puzzle piece thing, which was done really well. I really enjoyed that part. Like the pace on that part of the book did not feel bad at all because we were getting a lot of really great content. We were learning a lot about these young girls, about their lives, about how they interact with each other, how they interact with their families. Lots of really great stuff. I did not feel like the pace was bad, but it was like then it was all kind of bottled up really quickly, and we were just sort of expected to be okay with that ending being a sort of slapdash ending that just sort of came together in the last minute. Okay, and I was not really that happy with the outcome of the ending. I just had questions that I didn't feel like were really answered, and that's not like Sarah Gailey. Like, typically they're pretty good about wrapping up the book really well. So yeah, I ended up giving this one 4 stars. Like I said, the rep on the page was really good. The pace and the story I really, really liked. It was the ending. I could not get behind the ending, and it just happened so quickly that I was so disappointed because I felt like Sarah Gailey put all this work into the book for us to just like pop out this super quick ending. I didn't understand. Maybe up against a writing deadline, something like that. I have no idea. So, did I still like it? Yes. Would I recommend it? I have other Sarah Gailey books I would recommend before this one. But I did think it was a good book, and I do like Sarah Gailey's writing, so yeah. The next book I read in April was Monday's Not Coming by Tiffany D. Jackson. Y'all know how I feel about Tiffany D. Jackson. I was so excited to finally be able to read this book because every time I try to access Monday's Not Coming, it's not available. So I was really happy to just see that it was available and that I could actually get it. This is probably the highest rated Tiffany Jackson book that she has. All right, and I can definitely see why. So we're following a teen girl as she's getting into her last year at middle school. Okay. Her and her best friend, they live in an area, I feel like this is a private school now, if I'm remembering correctly, and they go to this private school. Both these girls are black, by the way. They go to this private school, and they basically have to apply to different high schools, right? And it kind of depends on like your grades and your circumstances and like how smart you are, your drivability, all these kinds of things have to go into it. But these 2 girls are like, it's their big last year. Like, this is the year that they have to make decisions and stuff like that. So she shows up to the first day of school after being gone all summer. She's not heard from her best friend Monday. And she's so excited to see her. It's their last year of middle school together. She gets to school on the first day of school. Monday's not there. Which is really weird because Monday never misses school. Okay? And then a few days go by. Monday's still not there. She tries calling her phone. Phone's not working. Tries talking to her teachers. Her teachers tell her to mind her own business. She tries talking to her mom. Her mom says, don't worry about Monday. And this goes on for a while before we start really getting worried that Monday is not around anymore. Where has Monday gone? Why is no one looking for Monday, etc.? And so this young girl makes it her mission to find her best friend that is missing, that nobody wants to talk about, that everyone seems to think is fine, but she's just not at school anymore. We're doing like not a split POV, but a split timeline. So we're seeing like this young girl as she's looking for Monday, like right now, Monday's missing. And then we're seeing the events that are kind of like leading up to the last time that this girl and Monday saw each other. A lot of dynamics happening on the page, like a lot of things happening at school, a lot of things happening at home, a lot of things happening between these 2 girls. And we're sort of seeing that all build up in the past and leading to where we are in the present. This book was messed up, you guys. Like, obviously, Tiffany Jackson writes messed up stuff, okay? Like, she always kind of has. She typically bases her books on real life crimes that have happened, and then she fictionalizes it into a story. Um, and so this was based on a real life crime of a missing girl, and she fictionalized it into a story. When I tell you there were things about this book that were just so incredibly sad to me, um, there were a lot of really great decisions made by Jackson for this book. Like, for instance, talking a lot about gentrification without ever talking about gentrification, okay? And we talk a lot about race biases without actually having that conversation. Like, you see it happening on the page, but it's never spoken about in that direct way where you're like, oh, that's what we're talking about. No, it was all done so organically that you knew that's what we were doing. We're having these important conversations, but we're not sitting here saying, hey, we're having these important conversations, which I really love. I love the subtlety and sometimes the not subtlety that Jackson uses in her writing. It makes her a tremendous author, honestly. Like, I have always loved how she writes. I love the tone that she uses. I think she talks on very hard-hitting issues without making it seem like she's grandstanding. And she pulls that off here too. This book was just quite frankly amazing. This was the best book by Tiffany Jackson I have ever read. I gave this one 5 stars. I absolutely loved it. If you have not read Monday's Not Coming, you need to. But you also need to know there are trigger warnings for this book and that you should check them out if you think it might be too heavy for you. I absolutely love this one. And for the record, I really like all of other Tiffany Jackson's books I've read. But I have never given a 5 star to Tiffany Jackson because she usually messes with me in the last half of the book or at the ending. She usually messes with me at the ending. She didn't with this one, okay? And it was perfect. It really was. Okay, the last book I read in April was Our Infinite Face by Laura Steven. Okay, this was chosen for my book club. This is about 2 people that are traveling through time, like reincarnation, and in each life they love each other, and in each life they kill each other. That's sort of like the whole premise of the book, is them finding each other in these different lives and dying together in these different lives. So we're following one of the characters, and she decides, this is the life that I'm not going to let this other person, this significant love of hers, kill me. I'm not letting it happen. And because she's not wanting it to happen because her sister in this life is dying from cancer, and she wants to make a bone marrow donation to her sister, but the timeline is not working out in her favor, and she knows that her significant other is going to kill her before she can have time to make the bone marrow donation. So she puts it in her head that she's going to keep him from killing her this time. This is going to be the time that they don't kill each other and they live a happily ever after life instead. When I tell you guys that this is probably the most boring book I've read in a long time, this was a really boring book. I could not get into this book, you guys. I tried so hard. I did it on audio, and I just kept thinking, it's got to pick up. Like, the pace has got to pick. It never picked up. The pace was so slow for me. I had to force myself to read this book because I was on a timeline, like, I had to get it done at a certain time so that I could read, so I could do book club with my group and everything. And it was like, I was on a deadline. I had to finish it by I seriously finished it the night before book club. And like, I had to make myself finish it because I was like, I am just bored to tears with this book. I could not get into it. I think if you like historical fiction, there is a lot of historical fiction happening in this book. Because like, not only are we in the present timeline, we're getting past lives timeline, like little snippets of their stories from their past lives together. So it did sort of have this historical fiction feel to it, which I don't love historical fiction, first of all. And so once I kind of felt that happening, I was like, oh my gosh, just add another layer of tragedy to this book for me, because it just really wasn't working out for me. The other part is that I felt like when we were traveling back in time, to these other timelines where they were together, I felt like every single timeline was just the same story. And one of the other readers in my book club was like, well, it is called Infinite Fates, like just keeps happening over and over again. Yes, that is what it felt like. It felt like Groundhog Day every couple chapters. Okay? We're just living the same life with different scenery. Okay? So yeah, first of all, pace terrible for me. I didn't like it. And then second, the ending, what do you mean? I don't know. I have so many questions. I have so many freaking questions and nary an answer. Okay? I can't tell you. I don't know. And so I finished it or whatever, and I mean, we obviously talked about it in book club, but a bunch of us were kind of asking each other, like, have you started it? Have you gotten it going? Because it was a hard book to get, first of all. There's lots of holds on this book. So a lot of people ended up not reading it because they couldn't get it in time. And I ended up getting it off of an audiobook app that I have that I pay for the subscription, so I was able to get it. But yeah, I said I also had trouble getting it because I was trying to get it through my library first. And when it didn't pop up for me, I went over to my other app and I got it there. But I knew that it was hard for people to get. So I feel like half the people didn't read it because it was really hard to get. And then the people that did read it said, I couldn't get into it. It was so long. It was so dense. It was so boring. I felt like I was struggling through it the whole time. I think there were only a few people in the book club that actually really liked it. And the rest of us were just kind of like meh about it. I ended up giving it 2 stars. And I know you're probably sitting there like, whoa, that's really low for you, Alex. You don't usually give a 2-star. I know I don't. And I originally had it rated at 3 stars. But then I started logistically thinking about this book. Not thinking about like how I felt about it, because that's a subjectivity thing, right? I started thinking about it more objectively, right? Was the writing good? No, I don't think so. I do not believe that this was good writing. There was a lot of telling instead of showing. And if you're a writer, you're an author, you're in that world or whatever, then you understand when I say to you, show, don't tell. Okay? Way too much telling happening in this book. Like, there was no showing on the page. A lot of times I heard repeated phrases in this book was just nauseating. Okay? It was not well balanced or well written. And a lot of people were kind of like, oh, I think it kind of ties back to how their lives intertwine. No, I think it was repetitive and bad writing. That's what I wholeheartedly think. And I think there were so many other things that Laura Steven could have done with this book to really pick it up. But there was so much that was not explained about their past, how this all kind of came to be. This is another instance where the ending was just sort of shoved together so quickly. And it was like, this is a very complicated story. I don't see how you thought shoving the ending together so quickly was going to be like okay to explain this like relationship that's literally been happening for like millennia in the span of the last like 50 pages. I don't know how you thought that was going to work out. Let me tell you, I didn't think it worked out well. And for the majority of the people in the book club, they also did not think the ending worked out well. They had a lot of questions that were unanswered. And we pretty much all kind of ended on the same note as, why were they in such a hurry to wrap it up? And a couple people said maybe it was a writing deadline. I have no idea. I was quite frankly happy it was wrapping up quickly because I didn't want to be reading it anymore. So yeah, objectively speaking, I do not think it was well written. It was definitely not well edited. I did the audiobook, and it was fine, but one of my friends in the book club would send me a picture every time there was a crazy typo. Not like a dropped comma, not like a quotation issue, like a legit crazy editing issue that should have been caught. There was one time where she sent me a picture and it was literally 6 words all smashed together, no spaces. How does that even happen? And, before y'all come at me, I literally proofread for my job, okay? Like, I'm a freelance proofreader. I do this for work. There is no way that should have gotten through, okay? So yeah, the editing on the book wasn't even done that well. Yeah, so I had a lot of opinions about this, but I really didn't like it. I think that if you like historical fiction and you like the idea of the time traveling reincarnation thing, I think there's better books. I think there's better books. This one just really did not hit for me. I know some people in my book club really loved it for whatever reason. I think it was a big miss. So yeah, I gave it 2 stars, and Laura Stephen will probably not ever get read by me. This was just incredibly dense for really no reason, and then I think that the ending was just so slapped together. I didn't appreciate it at all for it being such a complex plot. I was like, you're really going to reduce it down to this. She didn't do the characters justice with that ending at all, in my opinion. So yeah, that's my 2 cents on it. If you've read it, let me know what you think. But yeah, okay, that's all I have for you guys today. That's what I read in April. Um, like I said, it was an interesting month. I read When We Were Magic so early in April that like when I finished Our Infinite Fates and I started sitting down and going through everything I read, I was like, I read 3 books. What was the other book I read? When We Were Magic. I just read it so early and so quickly in the month that I literally forgot I'd done it. So yeah, make sure you hit all the buttons down below so you know when I'm posting. I post every week. And yeah, that's all I have for you guys today. Let me know in the comments what you read in April, if you read anything that I read. If you want to talk about the titles, I love hearing from all of you, so please leave me a comment. Other than that, I will see you all next time. Bye.